Welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren Fix.
And I'm Paul.
And we're here at the Rennsport Reunion 7, which is the 7th event of 75 years, right, of Porsche?
75 years of Porsche. This is the biggest Porsche event of the year. Probably the next one's going to be 5 years from now. They always space them out.
Yeah.
This is a Porsche lover's dream, and this is also a great place if you love vintage racing. This is what every classic car, race car enthusiast loves to do. This is why we're here, to see everything.
You don't even have to own a Porsche. We happen to own Porsches, but if you are an enthusiast, you own cars, you want to come here. And one of the things that's important to note, this is in Northern California. They do an event also in Amelia Island, Florida. And there's a lot to see here. There's tractor races, Porsche tractor races. There's collectible cars. You can custom order your car. There's a whole booth here to show you what to do. And even Porsche design watches. We'll be covering this on the Newsmax channel as well. We have a couple interviews, and our podcast will have some internals. They'll tell us some of the future of Porsche and what they're doing.
Plus tons of announcements, classic car concourse, track time, and everything else. So let's get into it. We're out here in California at Laguna Seca Raceway, just outside of Monterey and Carmel, where most people know Pebble Beach, and we're out here for one of the biggest Porsche events of the decade, pretty much.
Really, that's the 75 years of Porsche, which is Rennsport. And by the way, it is Porsche. It is someone's last name. It is not Porsche. So if anyone says it wrong, please correct them. And what is Rennsport? Rennsport means race sport. That is the translation. And this is what Porsche's history is all about. 75 years of Porsche, starting off with what looked like almost the 356, which looks something like a Volkswagen, but it's not.
Yeah, the Beetle was originally designed by Dr. Ferdinand Porsche.
Yes.
And that he wanted a sports car version of the Beetle, and that's kind of what made Porsche what it is today. And now we get all crazy kinds of prototypes and tractors and everything else.
Race cars.
And this weekend we got to see
everything.
Probably $1 billion worth of cars collectively.
Maybe more.
Yeah, in the concourse, on the racetrack, up for show, brought by Porsche, shipped in from Germany, brought from all over the world, people driving them in.
Right. It was amazing. I've never seen so many Porsches in one location. You think, oh, you're looking at a factory, just a sea of every year possible Porsche, including some concept cars, which we'll talk about in a second. Over the 4-day event here at Laguna Seca in Monterey was over 91,000 people attended over 4 days that watched over 300 race entries.
And these cars were going all weekend long. I don't think there
nonstop.
There was barely a break, and anytime there was, they were taking people out for rides in the brand new GT3 RS, GT4 RS, and we got to see a lot of really rare cars out on the track as well.
But wait, all those cars?
Yeah.
Ran on 400 gallons of synthetic fuel known as e-fuel. We've covered that in the Car Coach Reports channel. So if you want to learn about e-fuels or synthetic fuels, that is what you're going to be seeing in the future, because according to Dr. Michael Steiner, who I did a podcast with, you'll get to hear after this, coming up in the near future, he says the 911 will never be hybrid. It'll never be electric. It will remain a lightweight gasoline-powered car, and I'm very happy to hear that.
I think that is probably the biggest story of the on-track experiences, is that they all got to drive on synthetic fuel, which could save the internal combustion engine for the future, especially for us enthusiasts who really love our sports cars and especially our classic cars. Right. Knowing that we're going to be able to drive them while the industry is starting to shift and looking for alternative fuels, we're going to get to keep driving our cars. So I got a little taster of what Lauren is talking about with that podcast. I definitely recommend you stick around for that one.
There'll be another one also with Barbara Frankel, who talks about specifically synthetic fuel. She's on the board of directors. She's the only female on Porsche board of directors. So that was cool. Now, other vehicles that they showcased, because they still have to go with this two-path strategy of going with synthetic fuels and electric vehicles, they debuted the Mission X concept. One of the coolest looking vehicles. The rear taillights and the front headlights. I mean, you look at this thing and you're thinking, this is a Porsche?
It is straight out of a sci-fi movie. It is like something that was designed that you'd think would never be on the road, and I'm so glad that they made a real working driving prototype that looks like this. You're going to have to look it up online. It's like a spaceship on wheels.
Well, we have a video at Car Coach Reports. You can see the whole Rennsport experience so that you can take a look at that yourself.
They also brought out the Vision 357 Speedster, which is a throwback to the original Porsche 356, which was in reference to the size of the engine. But this one, even though it's called the 357,
Very wacky looking.
Sounds like a successor. And design-wise, it looks like a throwback to the original car from the 50s, but it's all electric. The number is just as a throwback to the name. And also absolutely incredible. The design that's coming out of Porsche's studios is very, very impressive.
So the second night we were here, as part of the media, we got to see the global debut of the 911 GT3 R Rennsport, race sport, for those who don't speak German. And they're building 77 of them, but they're $1 million a piece. And I'm sure they're all taken because there's certain buyers that's nothing for the average person.
And
I wish.
And they're waiting on the list. And anytime something new and special comes out. And here's the big kicker about this. You're probably not going to see a lot of them. Maybe at some special events where they're trailered in, they are not street legal. And they are also not homologated for any racing series. So if you are a fan of IMSA or WEC, you will never see these guys on the racetrack.
Not in those series. They'll end up being like test days, and it's more of a collector's car.
Exactly. These buyers will take them out for special events, and that's when you'll have an opportunity to see them race. And again, absolutely wild, huge aerodynamic, the wings and the inlets and the canards and the shape of the body.
So good.
We got to hear it start up, and I don't think I've heard a better sounding Porsche.
Yeah, it was pretty good. They ran a night portion for the media, and we got to hear it, so it was pretty impressive. Now, there were over 100 Porsche racers from around the world. And that was from all different series. They ran IMSA races. They ran Porsche Club races.
There were a lot of classic trophies that were going on that were split up into different year ranges and different car types. There was a section for only the old prototypes from the 70s, and that was wild to watch.
Yeah.
We got to watch Porsche tractors, for those of you who don't know.
That was cool.
Just like how Lamborghini started out making tractors, Porsche made tractors at one point. And
they did a Le Mans start, so that means they all line up, the drivers on the other side of the track with their vehicles all at an angle, and when they say go, you run as fast as you can to your vehicle with your helmet on. You jump on your vehicle, in this case it's a tractor, and they all took off, but they were all so slow. It was actually hysterical.
Well, because not only that, because you have to start it up when you get into the tractor, and some of them have a whole bunch of things you have to click and switch and get into gear, and because they're so slow, it takes forever. But you can see there were a couple of them. I heard one guy talking. He said he took parts from an old race car and put them onto the tractor, and the guy talking to him goes, "So does that make it faster?" He goes, "No, but it sounds great."
It is a tractor. Because Lamborghini and Porsche both started out as tractor manufacturers. Now, this is something that's right up your alley, Paul. I'm really not into this online gaming, but there was a Porsche Esports Championship. I'll let you describe that.
Sure. So there's a company called FaZe Clan, and if you're at all familiar with League of Legends or competitive games like Call of Duty, these guys professionally play these games, and they as a part of the video game sponsorship, are working with Gran Turismo, which is a PlayStation racing simulator, and they've also heavily partnered with Porsche. So all three companies together, they had a huge booth set up, and they were doing a competition where people were competing from all over the country for the top prize, and that was all at the championship was there at the event. So a little thing there for you guys that are interested in
smart,
esports.
Because what they did is they showcased the vehicles and they announced them through the esports, through gaming. So that the gamers, which are all ages, then become fans of the brand. So it creates a great brand loyalty. So there is actually a marketing angle to it, which I don't think everyone realizes.
Yeah, and those cars are available to drive in the video games before they're ever available on the street, even to buy, to test drive, nothing. So, growing up, Need for Speed and Forza and Gran Turismo, these games get to see the concept cars and the real cars before anybody else. And that creates, like you said, early fans. And that's how I got into cars when I couldn't drive cars. I was playing video games and driving them digitally.
Right, and that's where kids suddenly get involved in it, and their dream is to own a Porsche, which is why Rennsport's great, because there are people there that own cars, people there that were just enthusiasts who always dreamt of owning one, people that race them but may not own one, and just every single aspect of car enthusiasts were there. There was actually a Porsche restoration competition. There were 2 winners because there were different classes, a 1991 911 Carrera 4 Coupe and a 1994 911 Turbo 3.6 Type 964. And Special Wishes had a really cool booth. It's called, I'm going to say it wrong, say it correctly.
Sonderwunsch, which is German for special wishes. So we had a great conversation with one of the employees there, and he was breaking down, there's all these different names, what means what, and some things are in German and some things are just letters.
The color choices were spectacular.
So for those of you who are interested in buying a Porsche, if you ever hear exclusive manufacturer or manufacturer, that's the overall. You want a special color, you want a special option, you want your special seats or whatever that's not normally available when you're ordering a car. Well, that's exclusive manufacturer. Well, now you want something even more special. I want a custom color. I really love this mug in my house or something.
Right.
And that's how you choose your special wishes, and a couple of other really specific cool options, body work and things like that.
Yeah, you can have all kinds of interior choices. And the other thing is that they had Porsche design. So if you've probably seen Porsche design watches or jewelry or clothing, well, now you can get your watch, order at the same time as you order your car, and have them delivered through the dealer at the same time. You can pick the stitching, the material, and all. I put an article out. It'll be on my website, Car Coach Reports, talking about Porsche design and the watches. They make their own watches. They are all German watches, and they're all controlled by Porsche so that you can have the exact same material in your vehicle or on the color of your vehicle on your watch. Really, really classy, very cool.
I think one of the coolest examples of that we saw was the brand new GT3 RS with the Heritage package that was a throwback to the original 2.7 liter RS. It's one of the legendary cars from the 70s. And you can get the stripe to match the wheels, and you can get your watch to match the color that you chose so that you can buy them together from Porsche, and you can rep the brand whether you're in the car or not.
Right. And one other thing that's really important, it's not just the cars, but it's the drivers. There were some pretty famous drivers there. Hurley Haywood, who's one of the most famous drivers. We also saw David Hobbs, Jackie Ickx, Derek Bell, a good friend of ours, Justin Bell, his son, Patrick Dempsey, Patrick Long, Tommy Kendall. I mean, those are just some of them. There were some really famous drivers there.
And they were having interviews on the main stage, and a lot of this was recorded. So you can probably go and find a lot of this stuff. Autograph sessions, interviews. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on, and people were just wandering around. We just ran into Tommy Kendall like, hey, how's it going?
But we also stood in line with everyone else for 4 hours to get into the Porsche clothing store. So they had a lot of things you could take back with you, souvenirs, tons of things for the enthusiast.
And that also tells you and we mentioned before, 91,000 people were there over the course of the 4 days.
That's a lot of people.
But to wait 4 hours in line, we got there right when they opened.
That line never ended. As soon as we went to the end of the line, there were still people waiting in line.
And that speaks to the enthusiasm of the base, and there are definitely people there that did not own Porsches.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are people there that didn't own. I have a Porsche. I have a Cayenne. I have a Cayenne.
I have
diesel.
a 911 and a Cayenne diesel.
And absolutely great SUV. It's not a 911, but the people, they don't care. You're part of the club.
Right.
You love Porsches no matter what your situation is. You're part of the club. And that's why there were so many people there watching the races, participating in the events, voting for the Restoration Challenge and looking at the concourse and meeting the race car drivers. It was a lot. It was almost too much to take in.
It was, because we were just saying at the end that there was a lot to absorb. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of pride, a lot of excitement. And of course, this was a very special event because it's 75 years of Porsche.
Yeah, and their 7th event like this. Now, they don't do this every year. I think you mentioned this earlier.
It's like every 4 or 5 years, depending on...
They started this in 2001, and only every couple of years do they do this. It is such a huge event. They started in Lime Rock, Connecticut, went down to Daytona, and then came out here to Laguna, which we believe is where they're going to stay. And this is a great venue. Beautiful weather, people from all over California and much, much farther.
People came from all over the world.
We met people from Vermont, from Minnesota,
we're from New York.
We're from New York. We didn't drive, but some of these people did drive.
I have a friend who drove
impressive.
from Florida. I have a friend who drove from Atlanta, Georgia. It's pretty cool. And we'll also be covering, like I said, Porsche design. We'll have 2 more podcasts coming out. One will be with Dr. Michael Steiner, who is in charge of research and development for Porsche, and Barbara Frankel, who is on the board of directors talking about synthetic fuel. Well, 4 days of Porsche is a lot. It's almost an overdose.
I think I need a break.
Yeah, it's time to look at some of the other cars that we cover on our channel, because we cover car reviews, first looks at new vehicles, and of course car smarts, because knowledge is power. And you have all the links for that down below in our description. If you want to support our channel, you can buy us a cup of coffee.
Yep, and you can check out our podcast, and you can check out her book, and you can follow us on social media, and we look forward to seeing you next time.